Friends are a freaking distraction. Sure, having friends is great and could give us some of the most awesome experiences, but they may be not as cool as we would think. Let me explain. Our friends have their own emotional needs. Loneliness, validation, a sense of belonging, approval. Oftentimes, they think we have the solution to all their problems, but we freaking don't. They think that it's actually normal to impose on someone else's freedom for their own emotional troubles. No, it's not normal. It's normal in that sense of the word, but it doesn't mean that since everybody's doing it, it's actually healthy. Imagine you are in a mental hospital, surrounded with mentally insane people. Soon, after a couple of weeks or months, you would think that the behaviors of the mentally deranged people is the normal way of behaving. But just because that's the norm, that doesn't mean it's the right way of living. In short, it doesn't mean that since being toxic is the norm in our society these days, we should actually put up with it. The truth is, we don't need to maintain any friendship with anyone if we don't wish to. Realizing this doesn't take much effort at all. Take some time to reflect on our lives up until now. It's constantly changing, isn't it? We change the way we think, our needs change, our goals change, and after a while, we stop resonating with people to whom we were once so close. And it's the same with us right now. The people we are with today may not resonate with us tomorrow because our goals and needs keep changing. The problem is, some people might be clinging onto you too tightly out of fear of losing you. And they might attempt to pull off some Jedi mind tricks by making you feel guilty in the hope you would correct your ways of thinking. And these Jedi mind tricks could be some of the most powerful shit you will ever experience. Like, do you remember that time when you had no one and I was always there for you? Like, I was loyal to you before and now I'm expecting you to do the same for me? Right. But before we get sucked into these mind games, just remember that people do everything out of their own self-interest. It's like they have their own self-interest programmed in their mind, even when they believe that their actions are purely selfless. Like perhaps the reason why they picked your lonely sorry ass wasn't really out of pity, but it's because they needed you as much as you needed them. Like maybe they also needed a friend, and when they saw someone else wanting the same thing, they gladly took the chance because there's like zero chance of getting rejected. If a lonely person sees another lonely person, it's like, hey, we should unite, get together and bigger and maybe take over the world someday. You get the idea. Basically, this notion of self-sacrifice only serves to cover up the fundamental truth behind our so-called acts of charity. That we are really using someone else to make us feel better about ourselves. And this is also what I'm learning about myself and my relationships with others. That I have my own personal desires regardless of others' expectations. Some days I feel like interacting with someone and making a connection. Some days I feel like being alone and reflecting on everything, just me in my room. But the key is, I'm no longer dependent on my friends. I choose to do something because that's what I want to do in that moment. And I'm not gonna cover it up, which has completely transformed my life. Sure, I have less friends than I used to because like people generally want to have some control over you. And when you don't really need them, they would say,
that sucks.
But on reflection, the friends that have disappeared out of my life turn out to be the ones that I didn't want to spend time with anyway, and ones that I actually tried to avoid. It's like losing a toxic friend is a win kind of deal, and this feeling that I don't need anybody else to make me happy sort of gave me so much confidence and freedom. Like, if someone doesn't like me for what I have to say, then he's probably not right for me. And it's kind of great for my emotional well-being too, not having to hide my emotions and put up with any pretenses. It's like nowadays people are so afraid of offending someone that they choose to neglect their own emotions. I mean, it's a pretty good sign that if you can't be honest about your feelings with somebody, probably that means he's not the right fit for you. Friendships should always be about love, authenticity, and freedom. If it's merely about popularity contests and keeping up with the trend, we won't truly be happy. Because we tend to lose ourselves in the attempt of gaining the world. And if you're like me and on the same journey of rediscovering yourself, sometimes it would feel very lonely, even to the point where you're questioning your own sanity. But that's the path. Everyone's sort of in this impossible business of trying to please everybody. And when you go in the opposite direction and be an independent entity, once in a while you definitely would offend somebody, because nobody likes a free individual. But despite this, what you would get in return is a much greater freedom than you would have ever tasted before.